Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We just got a massive update on the Death Knight talent trees. So I just want to go over them, read through it, look at what's changing, and give kind of my first general thoughts on it. So without further ado, here we go. So, post from Kyvax, this is 4 hours ago. I have read through this once, so I know what's coming, but I didn't give it much thought. Just a couple little things that I did think of. This is just the general class tree. I'll resize this a little bit so it's easier to see. There we go. Okay, and there's a couple pictures in here that'll help illustrate what's going on as well. Info drop for you. Here's what we've been working on, what you can expect to see in the next alpha build. Sweet. Class and Unholy changes. So no changes to Blood and Frost in this particular video, but some really good important stuff going on here. So in an effort to further increase choice, we've updated some talent positions, added 2 additional connections from Might of Thessarian, which is one of these ones. Oh, I can do the WoW head tech, right? Might of Thessarian. Right here. So we've added additional connections from this and Merciless Strikes, which is the crit one, so the strength and crit nodes, toward the center. So basically, Merciless Strikes presumably goes into like towards Asphyxiate, Might of Thessarian into Wraithwalk, etc. That kind of thing. Reduced 3 rank talents to 2. Amazing change. I've said a couple of times, both for the DK tree and for other trees, that the 3-point nodes are the worst part of the entire system, that they feel really bad. 2-point nodes are enough of a commitment to get something really good. And even if you want to have a little bit less effectiveness in 2 nodes than you had in 3, it feels better to have a 2-point node that's less effective than a 3-point node, because you're just losing talents at that point. I'd rather have more buttons, more things to pick from, than have 3-point nodes every time. The other option that I've considered for this is that if you have 3-point nodes, you don't have to invest all 3 points to go further down the tree. That would be an interesting way to do it, I think. So like, let's say for Icy Talons, for example, you only need to get 2 of these to get to Empower Rune Weapon, but you can go for the 3rd if you think you want it. That would be an okay solution, but I think this is the better one to just make them 2. And updated the lead in talent to Abomination Limb with a throughput talent. Thank you. Improved Death Strike since this tree was released has been the single biggest issue in this entire tree, and it's finally getting moved to a different spot, and it's not going to be gatekeeping Abomination Limb anymore. And now we should really, and we'll go through a couple little builds hopefully to illustrate the point, but it's not going to gatekeep Abomination Limb and make it never pickable for DPS DKs anymore. Like, this even felt bad for Blood DKs. Following changes are not everything you're going to see in the next build, rather just highlights. That's fine. Okay, Rune Mastery. Right here. So consuming a rune is a chance to increase your strength by 6% for 6 seconds. It's now a 2-point node, and it leads into Abomination Limb. So it's taking the spot of Improved Death Strike. I don't know if this will be 12% for 12 seconds, or if it'll be 3 and then 6. We don't know yet. I think you could do like a 4 and 8 maybe, as decent tuning, but like the tuning of it is irrelevant. This was a good talent. It was taken in a lot of builds anyway, and I'm really glad to see it moved to before Abomination Limb. It makes Abomination Limb very accessible. Icy Talons and Unholy Bond both reduced to 2 ranks. Again, we don't know if this will reduce the effectiveness of it, if this becomes 15-30 or just 10-20. And the same with Icy Talons. We won't know until Alpha, and that's fine. Unholy Endurance is a new talent. It increases Lichborn duration by 2 seconds, and while active, damage taken is reduced by 15%. So another node for Lichborn. So Lichborn is going to become a 12-second, 15% DR, which is... It is just a worse Icebound Fortitude, but it lasts longer, so, you know, it's more DR, which is good. It is an extra talent to get it, but you still also have the Charm, Fear, Sleep immunities. So I like seeing it. It gives you another 2-minute DR, and that's fine. Death Pact now has a connection from Might of Thessarian. This this is Might of Thessarian. So Death Pact is here. So this must be moving. Yeah, there's a picture down here that we can only see part of because of the camera, but we will look at this in more detail in a second. Asphyxiate now has a new connection from Merciless Strikes. So Merciless Strikes to Asphyxiate, that makes sense. Clenching Grasp, a new talent. Death Grip slows enemy movement speed. That's probably primarily a PvP talent. Situationally in PvE. Somebody posted on the DK Alpha forum that on the Anduin ads, for example, this could be very useful. Trying to think of other situations where we're death gripping things in on fights like Soul Render in Sanctum of Domination. On who else has grippable ads? I can't think of any off the top of my head, but anyway, very situational niche PvE pick, but probably very good for PvP, which is fine. I don't have a problem with PvP-esque talents that have a niche in PvE, as long as they don't gatekeep something else in the tree. That's all fine. Okay, improved Death Strike. So this is our problem node. Max ranks reduced to 1. Hallelujah. Hopefully, I know most of the power of this is in the first point. I would like to see this at like the 1 point be at like the 2nd point effectiveness of what improved Death Strike currently is. That's what I'd like to see. I'm fine if it's just a 0.1 version. Totally fine. This is a great change to move it both to 1 point and up in the tree. So here's what it looks like. Let me make sure you have the whole thing. Here we go. So it's still going to be Chains of Ice. None of this has changed. Right here we get a little bit of change. So Icebound Fortitude goes right into Acclamation now. That's a great change. Because before you can get not the like in higher level PvE any content, you're always going to take Icebound Fortitude and you're always going to take Acclamation. But it pathing directly now is a very, very good change. And I'm really glad to see this. And the fact that you can go around it with the same number of points. So this Merciless Strikes looks like it's staying as a 1 point node. I'd like to see them make this 3%, but that probably won't happen. Is what it is. And these to be 4. I would like to see that. Again, probably won't happen. Okay, just looking at the top though, hasn't changed. So this Death Pact is now where Wraithwalk is. And this is going to be the improved Death Strike node. I think it's a great place for it. It's very easily accessible. You're going to take Death Strike and AMS all the time anyway, and it's going to be easy to get to. So like currently when you build out a Frost Tree, you're kind of going down these lines, grab all these, Anti-Magic Zone. I like both of those personally. Fortitude, Acclamation, one of these. I don't remember which is the good one off the top of my head. It's not that one, it's the other one. Corruption. Lichborn, Wraithwalk, Unholy Ground, and then you go into Unholy Bond, Soul Reaper, Icy Talons, Empowered Rune Weapon, Rune Mastery, maybe Will the Necropolis, and Rune of Continuation maybe. You can do some extra points up here if you want. You can take Death's Echo if you want. But all this to say is it's very easy to get this point. So it's not going to be an issue to go through that at all. Very happy to see that. These are the same. This all looks unchanged to me. We've got a node here. I think this node right here, this is the Death Grip slowing one, I believe. Clenching Grasp, I think that's what that's going to be. These are the same. We've got a route from here to the new Death Pact, which is also easily skippable. And then they've moved Assimilation up to right below AMZ to make it a choice, effectively a choice, because you can go around it instead of having to go through it to get to this part of the tree. And they put Wraithwalk here, which I think is fantastic. And they've also taken these lines out. So the bottom of this tree looks very different. So let me just pull this as close together as I can. So you've got, let's see if we can figure this out here. So Lichborn stays here. So, yeah. Unholy Ground is still there, and then this is going to be that Lichborn extra node. Nothing relies on it, which is fantastic. Death's Echo is still there. Unholy Bond and Soul Reaper are still there. Will and Acropolis is there. Horn of Winter has been moved off to the side. And I didn't notice this before, but Runic Attenuation is now up where Acclamation was. And I think that's a fine change as well. Right below that crit node. Yeah, I think that's a fine change as well. Blood Draw has been moved to where Horn of Winter is. I don't love that. I'm not a huge fan of this talent. Situationally, it could be really good, but I'm not a huge fan of this talent in general. And there are definitely, clearly, like they've shown, there are ways to get around it. And Will and Acropolis is a 2-point talent now, by the way, so it might also be a 2-point talent, which is even worse. So we'll see what happens there. But aside from this blood draw thing, and maybe Will and Acropolis being a 2-point talent, all of these changes, moving Assimilation and Acclamation, and the extra Lichborn thing, and even the pathing of this, when you get to the bottom, it looks a little bit more restrictive, but I think it's actually better. Just because you were able to go from like Horn of Winter and Will and Acropolis right to these non-active capstone talents. But I also think this does a better job of not emphasizing these as capstone talents, because these are clearly on a very different level than anything else, right? Clearly a different, these are significant power throughput options. These are not. These are talents. These are throughput. So I'm really glad to see that they've kind of changed this up. This looks a lot nicer. It's very symmetrical. It looks really good. Okay, Unholy. So as we mentioned previously, we have updates to both baseline and talent tree for Unholy available in the next alpha update. Yay! The baseline changes focus on helping reduce cooldown desync, as well as baking in existing talents to help the flow and feel of the spec. Additionally, Unholy Tree itself has experienced substantial iteration, has been mostly redesigned and restructured with 11 new talents. This is gone. This is unrecognizable now versus the picture they show you in here in a minute. Okay, so below is a list of changes previously mentioned, as well as new talents. The below list does not document each individual restructuring of existing talents, so it's quite substantial. We do have a screenshot of the tree below to help contextualize what can be expected. Okay, abilities. So Death Coil, Runic Power Cost been reduced from 230 down to 40. So this incorporates part of the current Deadliest Coil legendary. And it's right here. So this talent, I assume, is gone. Deadly Coil. Incorporates part of that just into baseline. Epidemic damage has been buffed. I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about tuning, because tuning stuff is just going to be whatever it is. But yeah, that just is what it is. Scourge Strike, Clawing Shadows damage increased by 20%. This was a talent, I believe. Yeah, right here. So presumably this is gone as well. Glad to see that. This one just felt kind of weird, just to buff Scourge Strike. Okay, talents. All 3 max rank talents have been reduced to 2. What do we have for 3 ranked talents on Unholy? I actually don't think we have any. No, we don't. Oh, there are. Yes. So the Festering Strike and the Infectious Wounds talents have been reduced to 2 points. Good. Deadly Coil. We just talked about this. It's been cut. Good. Unholy Command. So I believe that is... Where is Unholy Command? Here it is. So damage dealt by Death Coil reduces the cooldown of Dark Transformation by half a second. Ranks into 1 second. No longer reduces the cooldown on Dark Transformation when dealing damage to Deathcoil. Now just flat reduces the cooldown by 8 or 15 seconds. So Dark Transformation right now is a 1 minute cooldown. You would get this down towards 45-second cooldown in your normal rotation. And this is probably good because this doesn't imply that it works with Epidemic as well. And now, something's telling me it used to, but I might be thinking of Army of the Damned. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm glad to see that this is just a flat CDR reduction. It takes some of the playability out, but it also helps, like, if there's a boss where you have downtime and you can't reduce your cooldown, then it's just going to be the reduced version of it, which I think is a great change. Very happy to see that. Okay, Army of the Damned. So this is a current capstone talent that is taken in 99% of scenarios. It's very strong in the current build of Unholy, but it does feel kind of weird to use sometimes. So it now reduces the cooldown of Apocalypse by 45 seconds. So it's going to cut the cooldown of Apocalypse in half. It's probably a lower cooldown than we get it normally on live, but if you were really spamming Deathcoil, you could probably get it there. Deathcoil still reduces the cooldown of Army of the Dead. Okay. I'd kind of like to see this cooldown just reduced, but you can get this, like, if you just reduced it to 4 minutes instead of 8, you get more uses of it on live because you can get it down to 3.5-ish on retail right now. But the problem with that is it doesn't line up with the cooldowns. And someone in the forum also said this, is that when it's at 3.5 minutes, it desyncs cooldowns. And that's one of the biggest problems with Unholy right now. It's all the desynced cooldowns of Unholy is the glaring issue. And no longer summons Magus of the Dead. Oh, that's too bad. But there's something further down here about Magus of the Dead, so I'm not going to focus too much on that right now. Summon Gargoyle. Duration reduced to 35 seconds down, or 230 down from 35. This is already saying 30, so I'm not sure if this is a tooltip error here or not. Now gains 1% damage per 1 runic power spent, down from 1 per 2. So that's just a flat buff. Absolutely. This is going to be quite literally twice as strong. Your Deathcoil at 30 runic power now is going to buff your gargoyle damage by 30% instead of 15% every time. That's a crazy buff. Okay. Improved Scourge Strike. This is what we talked about. It has been cut. That's good. New talent. Feasting Strikes. Festering Strike and Scourge Strike or Clawing Shadows have a 15% chance to generate a rune. I don't love the RNG factor of that, but it's a decent way to help with rune spending, especially in a scenario when you're just blasting out Scourge Strikes. Okay. Runic Mastery is just a runic power increase. Again, I'm not sure how needed that is. In scenarios where you're spamming Epidemic, it'll be nice. But I'm not sure that's desperately needed. Scourge Strike causes your disease damage to occur 150% more quickly for 5 seconds. I saw a take on this on the forum as well, that this should be Festering Strike instead, and I do agree. The reason that person gave is because this is just going to be like 100% uptime because you're always hitting Scourge Strike, but Festering Strike will need to be laced into the rotation more to accommodate for it. And I agree that would be a better use for this talent. And then we get the interesting one. So Magus of the Dead is back. So this talent makes Apocalypse and Army of the Dead also summon a Magus. And the Magus got really buffed because it's an extra talent. But it also means that you can probably play a Magus build and just buff that a lot, which is really exciting. Obviously, it's going to be useless if you don't have Apocalypse or Army, which is possible to do a build with it either right now. It's weird, but it's possible. Yeah, I did see a couple mock builds on Alpha that did not use either of those abilities, which makes me sad because I love both of them. And yeah. Okay, what's next? Ruptured Viscera. When your ghouls expire, they explode, dealing shadow damage to nearby enemies. This is super cool. I love this idea. I love the thematic of it. My concern is that there's going to be a lot of times that whatever you're fighting is dead before they explode. But I assume the damage will be similar to Sacrificial Pact, which I believe is here. I assume the damage will be similar to that. So we'll see. Tuning, everything dependent. We're not going to worry about tuning as usual. Commander of the Dead. Dark Transformation also empowers your Gargoyle and Army of the Dead for 30 seconds, increasing their damage by 40%. That is incredible. That's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to need to sync up Dark Transformation with other things. Now, it's interesting because the monstrosity only lasts for 15 seconds. But this is going to last for 30, so that's interesting. I don't think we've seen anything yet to extend the duration of Dark Transformation, but time will tell. Oh, you can't see him. Cat sighting. There he is. He's peeking in the top of the screen. There he is. Doug. I digress. Maybe he'll make an appearance in a minute. That'll be some good clickbait. Okay. Sorry for the distraction. Moving on. Yeah. It's interesting that this is 30 seconds when Dark Transformation is only 15, but we'll see what happens there. Death Coil increases the duration of Dark Transformation. There we go. Here he is. Hi, Dougie. You making a special appearance on YouTube? Your YouTube debut, Doug? Doug, say hi, YouTube. Doug. Say hi. That's a nice boy. That's a nice boy, Doug. Yeah, so this answers a bunch of those questions. You can extend the duration of Dark Transformation. Very cool. Coil of Devastation. Death Coil causes the target to take an additional 35% of the direct damage dealt over 4 seconds. Yeah, that's just passive extra damage. It'll depend on tuning, depend on what you have to give up for it. It's not very interesting, I don't think. It's just, it is. Rotten Touch. Sudden Doom causes your next Death Coil to also increase your Scourge Strike damage against the target by 30% for 6 seconds. That could have some interesting magic with improved Death Coil, hitting extra enemies, and Death and Decay causing your Scourge Strikes to cleave, and Festermite. Could have some interesting workarounds there. Plague Bearer. Inflict disease upon your enemies, spreading festering wounds equal to the amount currently active on your target to 8 nearby enemies. Oh. That's like a semi-deterministic way to spread wounds. That's really cool. That is very, very cool. Imagine like a 6 to 8 target cleave scenario. You build up 6 on one target, you pop that, and then you just blast with Festermite. That's really cool. A single target, this is going to be useless. And I love that. I love that this is going to be very useful in AoE and absolutely useless in single target. I love that. May not make it in the next alpha build, that is fine. Super Strain, this is a current legendary and Torghast power. Virulent Plague also applies Frost Fever and Blood Boil, or Blood Plague, excuse me. Currently grants full effectiveness for the other diseases. Tuning is always likely to change, that's fine. Morbidity, which is somewhere here. Right here. Disease enemies take 3% increased damage from you per disease they're affected by. For obvious reasons, they're going to make changes to this. completely understandable and reasonable, given that we're getting 2 more diseases for free now. And the new and updated Unholy Tree looks like this. So we still have Festering Strike at the top, Scourge Strike, Raise Dead. Dark Transformation has been moved to here. This is going to be the Runic Power node, it looks like. Infected Claws has been moved up. Sudden Doom, I think this is. Wow, this is very different. We're gonna have to like really get into alpha to see what exactly this looks like. But this is okay. So you cannot take Magus of the Dead without Apocalypse. That's good. Clawing Shadows is locked behind Infected Claw. That's interesting. Okay. And Unholy Pact is over there as well with Defile. So this choice node has just been moved over. Wow, this is crazy. I wonder what the choices with Magus of the Dead are. I don't even know what half these are because they have such new icons. It's hard to tell. Gargoyles here. That might still be Death Rot. It would depend on the color. We can check real quick. Don't pay any attention to what I'm taking here. It's just all useless, just so I can see stuff. Yeah, Death Rot versus that being green. So that's gonna be Death Rot. That's fine. I wonder if Festermite is gone. Ooh, I only see one of these wounds icons. So it'll be interesting to see which of these 3 it actually is. I only see one of them. That's interesting. And there's a new active here. Yeah, so that's going to be very, very, very cool. I'm really excited to see what this looks like in alpha on Tuesday and get in there and make some builds with it and see what's going on. I think that these changes are really promising. I think there's still some issues here, though. Namely, stuff like the desync cooldowns I don't really think has been addressed too well. I think they've tried to do that with Army of the Damned, which is, by the way, locked underneath Army of the Dead. So it looks like you will be able to get Army of the Dead without Apocalypse, but you can't get Army of the Damned without Army, which is fine. And you can't get Magus without Apocalypse, which is also leads right into Army of the Dead. Pathing wise, I don't see any glaring issues with this. You can go down either side and still get anywhere because of the nodes that lead into Apocalypse here and where it goes all 3 directions. So that'll be interesting to see. And there aren't really any like just offset nodes like we saw in the class tree below like Lichborn and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, overall, I think these are going to be really good. I know this has been a long video, so I'm probably going to cut it off here. But yeah, I'm really excited to see this in alpha. I might make a follow-up video just to talk about it when we can actually do some testing with it, see what it looks like in game. But I think that for now, that will probably do, and we'll have to wait for the next alpha build to see what happens. But appreciate you all tuning in. Please feel free to follow the channel. You can catch me streaming on Twitch anytime. The link will be in the description below, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.